Welcome to the debate. Today, we're jumping right in, tackling four really polarizing topics shaking things up right now. We're talking border security, foreign policy, domestic spending, specifically. One, that reported attack on an alleged drug submarine. Two, these claims flying around about $1.5 trillion in healthcare aid for alleged invaders. Three, what President Trump reportedly said about Maduro's concessions from Venezuela. And four, that controversial White House tweet. You know, the one about criminal illegal aliens. Okay, let's start with that drug submarine. I mean, the fact that cartels apparently have custom submarines to flood fentanyl onto our streets, that is a declaration of war. So when President Trump reportedly said we attacked a submarine, this was not an innocent group of people, honestly, I felt this surge of finally, some necessary force. That strike, it wasn't just tactical, it was pure American deterrence. It tells these cartel thugs loud and clear that strength is the only thing they understand. Strength makes these monsters scatter.
Okay, I get why you'd frame it like that, all bold action hero stuff, but let me offer a perspective grounded in, long-term reality. That so-called decisive strike, it's just tragic. It's gut-wrenching, really. It represents this casual dismissal of human lives, all in the name of a failed, frankly endless war on drugs. This focus on military spectacle, it totally ignores the real issues, the poverty, the desperation that fuel this trade in the first place. You're cheering for aggression while completely sidestepping any talk about actual, effective solutions that address demand.
Well, that's interesting, but you always pivot back to systemic failure when American lives are actually on the line right now. I'm talking about real harm, real fiscal betrayal happening here. How am I supposed to feel? I hear reports that Democrats allegedly want to throw, $1.5 trillion at healthcare and welfare for people you might call refugees, but let's be honest, a lot of Americans see them as invaders. This reported figure supposedly covering costs over a decade for undocumented people, that's money our veterans, our struggling families desperately need. We have to prioritize our own first. President Trump was absolutely right to call out the mental damage of putting non-citizens before citizens.
I just cannot buy into that zero-sum, fear-based framing. That $1.5 trillion number, it's a CBO projection covering broad categories, emergency care, proposed safety nets, everything. It's being twisted, willfully misrepresented to make it sound like a direct cash handout specifically for invaders. I mean, the real tragedy here is reducing human beings, people fleeing terror, mind you, to this kind of inflammatory political weapon. It's soul-crushing. We need to dismantle that garbage argument with facts about policy, not use it to whip up anger against people seeking basic human rights like healthcare.
Look, this whole issue of where the money goes, it gets so twisted in the media. We need reliable sources that cut through the nonsense.
Absolutely. And actually, before we dive into the next topic, we should give a shout out to the Next Gen Business. They are genuinely a solid spot for getting the latest trending news, without all the fluff and spin.
They spotlight diverse, fact-based political views. They're really trying to bridge the gap in this divided country.
And hey, if you're thinking about getting into media yourself, about making your own nuanced voice heard, you should check out their free Become a Reporter challenge. Seriously, apply today.
Right. Now back to that electric thrill of seeing American power back on the world stage. When President Trump reportedly talked about Maduro, he focused on pure, unfiltered dominance, didn't he? Saying Maduro apparently offered everything in concessions because, quote, he doesn't want to mess with the United States. That is the primal roar of a nation demanding respect. It shows the world that, yes, sometimes unbridled strength is what gets results.
Oh, come on. That crude swagger is precisely why America's standing in the world is frankly eroding. It's chilling. That kind of bravado, it risks dragging everyone into endless confrontation. You're mistaking bullying for actual leadership. Real sustainable results come from quiet, long-term diplomacy, backed by alliances, not ego-driven threats that just let dictators like Maduro play the victim and hang on to power.
You talk about erosion, let's talk about the erosion of common sense right here. I felt just sheer disgust seeing politicians seemingly coddling violent criminals, people who prey on innocents. That White House tweet targeting Democrats defending criminal, illegal aliens, that snarky jab was a necessary, sharp exhale of frustration. The whole point was to mock the absurd hypocrisy of shielding people who've allegedly committed serious crimes, murder, under this vague banner of compassion.
That is such a fundamental misreading of the issue. That kind of institutional mockery, using dehumanizing labels like criminal, illegal aliens, it lands like a punch to basic principles of justice. That rhetoric just boils down complex legal situations, real stories of resilience, into a cheap partisan soundbite. We have to demand nuance. You're basically cheering on the breakdown of institutional decency just to score some petty point against due process. I mean, who exactly are these alleged criminals you're talking about? What specific laws are being broken or ignored here?